We're back.
Cool. I'm going to take over and we're going to continue on that performer agreement, which again, I will share with you guys so you can just like copy and paste and edit things as you need to. Okay. Sharing my screen again. We talked about payment. Let's hit accommodations. Before we get to accommodations, I was going to like make sure I had all the facts right before doing this, but I didn't Google it in time. So we're going based off of what I remember. I want to say it was maybe the Rolling Stones, but I don't know that for sure. There was some rock band that would have like this thick ass contract because they had pyrotechnics and needed a bunch of safety stuff. And halfway through this thick ass, like 75-page contract, in huge font, big block letters, it would be like, M&Ms in the green room. No green M&Ms. No green M&Ms allowed. No green M&Ms. So that way, it makes a fun story now. So it's like, oh my god, rock bands aren't the same as they used to. They used to be like divas. No, it was because if they walked backstage and saw green fucking M&Ms, they knew their pyrotechnic shit probably like is sketch because no one read the whole contract. It's like within all of this safety stuff, it's like, please, for the love of God, do not give us green M&Ms. And then I see sexy ass Miss Green M&M in here. We're fucked. We're not doing this. And they'd like storm out. You can do that. You can add your own little green M&M clause if you really wanted to. But that's kind of what we're dealing with when it comes to accommodations. So back to my screen sharing. Okay. So accommodations. This is one that I ripped directly from mine because I don't know if you've ever tried to do burlesque with absolutely zero stage help, but it's hard because I have no one to collect my money and I have no one to pick up my clothes. And I personally, I'm okay with collecting my own money at the end. But there's something about being fully naked after taking your clothes off and then having to pick up your own clothes that to me ruins the whole vibe of burlesque. Because suddenly I feel significantly less sexy. So I require that a minimum of one dedicated stage kitten must be present to set up, clean up, and collect tips. I've been hired for shows in the past where they just kind of silently stopped hiring stage help. And I had a couple of shows that I was booked in with them. And each time I had to email them, be like, hey, are you going to have a stage kitten or do I need to bring my own? And they're like, oh, you should probably bring your own. Added this clause. If the production does not have a dedicated stage kitten, an additional fee of however fucking much will be required for the performer to supply their own. Because again, I believe in paying my kittens. And some of you, shout out to Foxy, have probably been my dedicated stage kitten before. And going forward, I'm not paying for that. I am making my producer pay for that. And if they don't want to pay for it, they can hire their own stage help or not hire me. And that's okay.
On the note of that,
yes,
I would like to say, for a lot of our shows, we are not able to have stage kittens because I don't feel right having a stage kitten I can't pay. And Firecrotch for you in the corner, since it's Pride, I am able to pay you. But since I'm not able to hire a stage kitten, I make it clear to my other host that if we don't have one, I'm picking up clothes and they have to cover on the mic for a minute. Because I would rather do that as the host than have someone come back out, because I completely agree it ruins the whole vibe. Thank you. That is what I wanted to say.
Also, friendly reminder to like tip your kittens because they work hard and they look cute. And honestly, I kind of love stage kittening. I wish I did it more. Doing it at a trapdoor the other night, every time someone handed me $1, I just twirled my pasties, and I don't know whose tips I was collecting, but they got some extras.
Especially at Trapdoor, like if you guys ever get into producing, never produce at Trapdoor. I only did it because Fringe made me do it, but they only allow you 5 performers. only 5 people are allowed
It's
to
a
be
very
there.
small.
Yeah. So it's like
It's
impossible
very
to have a stage kitten, but also like the dressing room is so small. It's horrible. Never produce at Trapdoor ever.
and like things like that happen. Going back to, we're a little lenient when it comes to community productions, unless there's a pattern of behavior that's problematic and you've pointed it out multiple times, then you get to start being a hard ass. But again, a lot of us are just young and broke. I am, fun fact, one of the oldest producers in the Valley, and I am 25. Just be aware of who you're working with. Use kid gloves until you've worn straight through them, and now it's just bare fingies. Jumping back in. As a disability accommodation, performer requires that blank must be present when on off stage. You know, you can plug and play. It's kind of like a Mad Lib. So, for example, that might be a designated chair. Performer requires that a designated chair be present when off stage. You might require a personal dresser backstage if you have limited mobility. You might need a private dressing area away from performers. Again, if you have limited mobility and a dresser and it's going to take you like twice as long to get dressed, you might want a private space rather than just yelling cooch out and hoping for the best. You can put, again, whatever you want in there. If you want to say there has to be water available backstage, put it in there. If you want to say that there has to be snacks, put it in there. If you want a free drink, you can put it in there. You can put whatever the fuck you want in here, and it can always be negotiated with the producer, or the producer can say no. But like, whatever you need, put it in there.
Especially
Because you're never.
in the coming in the coming some Jesus. In the
You
coming
got this.
summer months, thank you. It is
Yes.
important that you ask your producer and make sure that there is a box fan or there is water supplied somewhere because overheating is a huge problem. And a lot of venues, like especially with Black Sheep, they're not around anymore, so I can talk shit. Their AC stopped working and they did nothing about it. They did not inform me before doing a show there. So make sure that there is a fan present and there is water available. Ask your producer about it. Make sure that is explicitly clear.
You can add in there something about AC or cooling options, or I think we workshopped a statement that you could send to Black Sheep that was like, if the temperature inside exceeds blank, like I have the right to leave, is basically what that was. And you can totally add that in of just like, if the temperature exceeds 85 degrees, I can leave. And once we get to the bottom of this, um, you'll see the part that saves your ass, so you can still get paid and just like dip if you wanted to or needed to, I guess. Venue requirements. Producer or venue must supply a private performer dressing area for costume changes and belongings. Dressing room must be free of unauthorized personnel, non-performers, and stage crew. Those authorized to be present in dressing areas must be made known prior to call time. Performer must have access to dressing areas no less than 30 minutes prior to performance start time, and performer must be made aware of any and all cameras that may be present in dressing areas prior to call time. So this saves your ass from like, and I'm guilty of this as well. But like a producer's friend coming backstage. In my case, it's usually someone who's like been soft added to the cast as extra help if I need it. But I personally need to do better about letting people know ahead of time if that's going to happen. Because just like we have like the red necklaces instead of the X arms, or in addition to the X arms, you can kind of think of it that way of like, knock, knock, knock. Hey, it's Absinthe. Can I come back there to grab something real quick? I mean, you could do an X arms and by saying no, I'm not comfortable with that. But not everybody feels empowered to do so. So having a list of people who are allowed to be back there makes it very clear. it's also helpful to deter other people from coming in. So if you have even like a stage kitten with a list of like authorized people, even if it's like your best friend that like means no harm, but like maybe has boundary problems, that's one way that can be like, oh, only authorized people. I'm sorry, you're not on the list, whatever. That's also why it's important to name your like any dresser or help that you need backstage. Producer or venue is responsible for any security or precautions that may be needed to help ensure the safety of guests and performers. You can be very specific and say that security must be on site, or like a designated security guard, whatever you wanted to do, whatever you felt you needed to do. Producer will make guests, cast, and stage crew aware of the burlesque rules. Staff, cast, and stage crew aware of the performance guidelines listed below prior to performances or performance interactions. So I have just the burlesque rules that I abide by, that I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page about. And the performance guidelines, you can't touch me unless you have consent. Physical or verbal harassment of performers will result in the removal of offending guests, performers, or staff members. All photos, both on and off stage, must be taken with consent. Performer, this is important. This is the fun part. This is the part. Performer reserves the right to remove themselves from inappropriate or harmful situations. Performer reserves the right to leave the event early with full pay in the event that their comfort or safety has been compromised in a way that cannot be immediately remedied by the venue or production. By accepting this performance agreement, you agree to the terms and guidelines outlined above. So those magical 2 sentences at the very end are, if you feel like you are being harassed and you've expressed that to the producer and nothing has changed, that gives you the right to just leave if you feel like you have to. And if they try not to pay you, you can be like, hey, you agreed to this. Like, do we want to get to the point where we're suing people? No, because that's expensive. Do we like to overuse the threat of suing? No, because that's predatory. But do we want our money that we earned after advocating for ourselves, from removing ourselves from an unsafe situation? Yes, that is your right. Within, especially like the accommodations, you can add in different things like, I must be made aware of like the cast ahead of time before agreeing to the casting proposal, if especially there's people that you don't want to work with. Or you can specifically call them out if you wanted to, of how would you word that? I have a voice note, honestly. But basically, like, you can put something in there, or you can even ask the producer before you accept the booking, like, everything looks great. Before I accept this casting, I would love to know who's already casted or who you're considering casting. You can put something in there of, if casting changes, like, the casting agreement has to be renewed type deal. Of like, if there's a significant change to who's in the show, I have the right to then again negotiate my terms and make sure I'm comfortable. So again, you can put yes.
I would also like to say, if something during a performance is making you uncomfortable, please make it clear to the producer. Tell us. Because I have had performers before, like, tell me after a show that someone was being creepy. It's like, babe, I can't help you with that. You tell me while it's happening. You come get me. Especially at my shows, I usually have 2 very burly, relatively scary looking cis men that are there.
I thought you were going to say relatively straight.
That too.
Yeah, keep going.
Relatively burly cis men that are there to kick people out, and they know that that is part of their job. Like, our sound guy can That's my fiance. He knows very
Get out
well.
glory hole.
Yeah, glory hole. He knows very well that if something is happening, I ask him to remove that person. Motherfucker's like 6'3", more muscular than he looks. He can remove somebody. So if anything is ever happening at our shows, please let us know so we can resolve the issue.
And feeling comfortable talking to your producer about those kinds of things is important. I'd say before you take and accept a booking, even like producers I don't know very well, when I do travel, like I want to feel comfortable enough with that person that I can come to them with problems. And that includes if something comes up with the producer themselves. So, for example, if you have a producer that is on mic introducing you and uses the wrong pronouns, especially when they have a second, because if they're hosting, people have seen me run on stage half naked with a microphone in hand. But definitely like bring that to their attention so they can correct it. If those corrections are not sticking, then that's just information for you to help determine whether that's somebody that you're comfortable working with in the future. I just have like a couple more slides and then we're good. But any questions about that performance agreement? I'll let it marinate. We'll circle back.
Wait, one second.
Yes.
What were the last two lines again? It was performers can.
Yeah, the way that I've phrased it is performer reserves the right to remove themselves from inappropriate or harmful situations. And performer reserves the right to leave the event early with full pay in the event that their comfort or safety has been compromised in a way that cannot be immediately remedied by the venue or production. And again, I'll send you a template so you can have that exact performance agreement and you can just copy and paste.
Perfect.
I have a question.
Yes.
So it might be a little dumb, but so let's say an audience member is making us uncomfortable. Can we go to the producer and be like,
absolutely.
Hey. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Especially in that situation. Yes. 100% that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Like, yes.
I thought it was more like backstage stuff.
Me too.
But
no. Audience, bartender, anyone in the building at all, someone outside the building, anyone at all, any natural person, any natural living person, please let us know. We will do what we can to remove them.
Yeah. I haven't had to make the mugshot of shame wall for speakeasy shows. I know, but for Pride, we have a mugshot of shame where we have pictures of people who cause problems so that whoever's doing ticketing knows not to let them in. Knock on wood, haven't had to do that for speakeasy yet. But if, for example, you had an audience member, especially if they like come fairly regularly, that you're like, yikes, please talk to a producer. As the producer, I would probably reach out to my other cast members. Not that I wouldn't doubt what you said, but just like, hey, have you also had problems? What the fuck? And then they could end up with a mugshot of shame where they just don't get to come in. Or I do, a lot of my ticket sales are online, so I can see who buys them and I can just cancel, which is sick.
So I have another question.
Yes.
Because I do go to your guys' shows a lot. So let's say there is like a audience member. Well, I'm also an audience member. That's creepy.
Tell us.
Okay, cool. But like, yep. And let's say I do a show for you. Can I tell you like ahead of time and be like, hey, I don't want this person here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, you can put that specifically in like the accommodation section. Or you can leave it completely out of the performance agreement and just like in a regular message be like, hey, there's this audience member that I'm uncomfortable with. If they're in attendance, I will not be performing. See those last two sentences where you still fucking pay me.
Yep.
You know? So then as the producer, I'm like, cool, I can either have this person's $10 or I can pay someone $50 for doing jack shit. Only a few more slides left. We're almost there. And then we all get to smoke some weed. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Hello?
Yeah.
Can we all see?
She can't see us.
Sick. Thank you.
Yes.
So, what if I have a problem or don't want to do this show? You can send the producer a message that starts like this. Thank you for thinking of me for this opportunity. Unfortunately, I will be unable to perform in show. Let's finish the sentence. This is where I write like chat GPT. I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry. Thank you for thinking of me for this opportunity. Unfortunately, I will be unable to perform in show, but I would love to work with you in the future. This is one that you use when you genuinely want to work with them in the future, but like maybe your grandma's having, you know, a strip show that day. And you say, actually, I got to go teach grandma how to do burlesque at the retirement home, but I would love to be in a future show of yours. You can also say, unfortunately, I will be unable to perform in show because it appears we're unable to come to agreement we are both happy with. This is what you respond with very politely. When you have your terms for performing and your producer does not agree and the negotiations are not going well. Because you can negotiate things back and forth. You might say my rate is $50 per act with a 2-act minimum. And your producer might say the best I can do for you is $40 with a 2-act minimum. And then you can decide whether or not you're comfortable taking that or not. They might also say, you might have venue must have air conditioning. And they say, ooh, venue does not have air conditioning, but we can do X, Y, and Z to make sure that those needs are met. If it does not go well, you can simply say, it appears we're unable to come to agreement we are both happy with. That's a very polite way of saying go fuck yourself. Unfortunately, I will be unable to perform in show because I don't have an act that I feel fits the show. I currently have X, Y, and Z acts and would love to work with you in the future when it's a better fit. This is one you can send when you have a very obscure theme that you've been asked to do, and you have nothing that fits that. Not a single thing, or you maybe just don't want to make something new, which is so valid. The benefit of this is that second sentence where you're pitching your acts. So if you wanted to add 2 or 3 acts that you do have, I'd say pick your favorites or the ones that you're really good at. I have had, and we'll talk about this more when it comes to getting booked, but I've had people send me like their performance resume and their act portfolio, and they weren't able to do whatever show was coming up, but specifically seeing the acts that they had available inspired an entire show theme just so I could bring them down so they could do like one specific thing that I really was excited about. So love that. Love pitching acts for shows where you would be a really good fit. Unfortunately, I will be unable to perform in show because the travel expenses to attend are too much to justify the trip at this time. And that's totally valid. Travel is expensive, especially if you're going to have to stay the night somewhere. And sometimes, no matter how much you negotiate with a producer, it just might not be in their budget to have a sufficient amount of money go towards your travel expenses. That doesn't mean that you will never work with them ever again. It just means that maybe it just doesn't work this time, and that's okay. And this one's a boundary one. Unfortunately, I'll be unable to perform in show unless my needs are met, so I can put on the best performance I can for you. This isn't quite the fuck you that it appears we're unable to come to an agreement is. This one's more of a, hey, I sent you this performance agreement for a reason. Maybe you should like read it. Because I'm not going to perform unless we agree. So like maybe take it seriously. Thank you. And then depending on how that goes, you might circle back to one of these other answers. There's 1,000,001 other responses. And no is a complete and full sentence in all aspects of life. But I also know sometimes it's nice to have a copy and paste sentence when you're dealing with people. And as you get more comfortable setting boundaries, you will probably come up with your own language that you feel really comfortable with. But setting boundaries when they're new is hard, and I understand that. Thank you. For legal reasons, this is not legal advice because I'm not an attorney. But there you go.
But you did babysit one.
I did babysit for who technically wasn't practicing at the time because he was also like kind of a stay-at-home dad. It was, it's fine.
The parent was a lawyer.
Yes.
Yes. The child
That
was not a
makes more
lawyer.
sense. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Do we have any
He
questions
technically wasn't
about
practicing
any
at
of
the time
that?
because he was 7.
Questions, comments, concerns? I will share the performance agreement and my slides. Not that my slides are the most helpful thing in the world, but they do have that one slide that gives you a script for how to talk to people like a robot.
I
But a
can
very
probably
professional robot.
I can probably post those on the website as well with the
Yep.
video.
Cool. Love that. Any questions, comments, concerns? Sick. Well, cool.
What would you say? What would you say out of all of that, like, top most important things to remember if you gain anything from this?
Contracts are meant to protect whoever is giving you the contract. Not everyone's going to care about you as much as I do. Love you. And it can be hard to set boundaries, especially when it's new and it's somebody you've worked with before. So, for example, if I wanted to start implementing these with Pansy Palace and I've worked with you guys in the past, it might feel weird to be like, hey, I didn't do this the last 7 times I've performed with you, but I now have this performance agreement I want you to agree to. That's why people that you are really comfortable with, amazing practice opportunities. When I write my casting proposals or any of these templates, I always think of it as like training wheels because I feel like I'm a not super scary person. I feel like if you like needed to set a boundary or talk about your needs, I'm a fairly safe person to do that with. So practice with the people you feel really comfortable with. So that way, once you start branching out and working with other producers, whether it be locally or out of town, you already have like you've practiced doing all of this. So that way, if they come at you with something crazy about it, then you can be like, well, it's funny that you have a problem with this because Pansy Palace doesn't. It's funny that you aren't able to meet these needs because Speakeasy does.
Yeah.
So there's that.
All
There's
right.
chat. Who's saying shit?
Oh, Firecrotch had to leave.
Yeah. Bye. Cool.
All right. Well, if no one has any questions, comments, or concerns, I guess we're free to go. But if you don't have any right now and you think of some later, you can DM me. I don't know how open Absinthe is to DMs, but she answers all of my crazy questions I throw at her. So,
I can be hit or miss if I'm being so honest. It depends on when you message me and what I am doing in my personal life. But I try.
Yeah. But you guys are always welcome to reach out to me for literally anything, and also the bit about pitching your acts. If you ever have an act idea that you have no idea what theme to put it in, if I like the act, I'll make the theme for you. Like,
also, message me and I can come up with some themes that it would fit into and different ways of altering it.
Like, Melodrama has been for a year wanting to do a Smokey the Bear burlesque.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the In Our Nature show is so she can do Smokey the Bearlesque. Like, just tell me, and I'll make it happen. Anyway, this is my TED Talk.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out and being a part of this and being so tolerant of all of my fuck ups today.
Hey, we're all learning today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Longest journey, smallest step,
Education
etc.
and practicing.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you DM me, we can talk about some lower cost than Zoom alternatives for webinars.
I would love that.
Very cool. Well, I'll see y'all next time.
Yeah.
What's that? 2
See you.
Wednesdays from now?
I think most of us will see, if all of us will see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you will.
Also
We'll
true,
See you
yeah.
tomorrow.
Oh, question for
Ice your
Absinthe
knees.
for class tomorrow. A couple classes ago, you said we would be going topless.
Yeah.
Is that next class?
We'll probably learn the choreography for it tomorrow.
Okay.
If you wanted to bring a back clasping bra and or tank top / wife pleaser, you could. Otherwise, we'll mime it because it's going to be real rough. And then the following week, we can add props that we can get stuck into the mix.
How do we feel about a halter top?
We can make that work. As long as you can, like, pull it up over yourself.
This was a jumpsuit, so less so.
Yeah. That's okay.
All right. Thank you all so much. I'm going to end the meeting.